Thank you for coming, sir. Yes, sir.
I've heard a lot about you.
7 o'clock, you ready?
Good. I'm good. Finally meet you.
Good evening, residents. Today is Tuesday, November 3rd, Election Day, 7 o'clock. We're going to have a regular meeting. Stand up, do the Pledge of Allegiance, and get the meeting started. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to have a moment of silence to honor the military, firefighters, road workers, and sheriff's deputies as they serve our community here and abroad. Thank you. Steve, will you do one to do roll call for us, please?
Yes. M. Michael McLaughlin.
Present.
James McGuire.
Present.
Roy Mann.
Present.
Okay, first thing on there is review and approval of prior meeting minutes. And there's no meetings to be approved. I discussed last time about the need to get our minutes up to date. We had a comment about we don't care if we get a hit on the audit, but yeah, we do. So the first meeting of the month of the year, I'll remember the exact date, first week of January. It was 2 hours and 50 minutes long. It was in neighborhoods of 80-some pages. And I think they did I'll forward it to you guys, I think they did a pretty gosh darn good job. I'll forward it, you guys can look at it. And we need to make a pretty quick decision. This company is owned by Zoom. And I mean, I was kind of thinking, you know, the person before, which Tracy said, it's hard to tell, okay, Mr. Mann talks, or I talk, or Jim talks, or somebody talks. This it's done by computer and overlooked by a person, but they knew my voice and picked up on it every time I spoke, and same with you, Mr. Mann. I'll send you guys an electronic copy of it. You too, Jim, and let's look at that, and we need to make a decision for 3 hours of meeting. That's not too bad. So, but we need to get moving on that. We gotta get our meetings up to date and get them online and be transparent for the community. So I'll proceed on to get that done out electronically. For right now, we have no meeting minutes to approve.
Well, point of information, Mr. President.
Yes.
We passed a resolution several meetings back approving the formulation of the minutes word for word.
I remember that.
They've got to be
Meeting I
done.
wasn't here.
They got to be done before the end of the year, or those will be compliance findings, not to mention legal risk for the township.
Okay, and who's taking I agree with that, and who's taking the motivation to get this done?
All we have to do is send the tapes to the transcriber that we've been using and get it done.
And I'll send you the quality. The quality of what I have is a lot better than the quality that she did. And a lot less pages. It's cheaper. But has anybody taken the motivation and the initiative to send it to her and get this thing started? Here it is,
So
first
who else
November.
has looked at the minutes besides you?
I'm sorry?
You're compiling the minutes on your own meeting.
What are you talking about? I sent her a copy of the recording, and I don't, say it again?
Somebody's gonna have to go through those minutes and present those. That's gonna have to go through Fiscal Officer Edwards for the final read and then submitted to the Board of Trustees. But it's going against what we have already voted upon.
How is it going against that? It is word for word.
Well,
You don't want to be transparent, do you?
there's nothing transparent about it. This is your way, and we've already passed another way. So are you gonna
If you've
go along
already
with
passed
the
another way,
board?
why aren't you doing something about
So
it?
are you gonna go along with the board or not?
I am going along with the board and doing it for word. I didn't vote to go, we had a vote before that not to do it word for word and do what everybody else does and do a general idea of the minutes. And then when a meeting I wasn't here, it got passed to do it for word for word. It got passed. Has anybody taken the bull by the horns and done it? I have. I'm trying to get it done word for word. I don't want to get hit and audit. I'll electronically send you what I paid to have done to get us transparent and to get us legal, and you decide what you want to do with it. Mr. Flagg, you want the floor, please? You have the, you give your report, so.
Mr. Mayor, do you want to chime in on minutes while we're here?
He's gonna get a copy of this, let's look at what he has, and we've got to get the minutes done. And let's look at it, and if we like it or wanna try it, you have it this next meeting,
I'll send it to you, I'll electronically send it to you tomorrow.
all right? Let's take a look at it.
Mr. Flagg, please? Captain Flagg, sorry.
It's kind of a short report this month. We had 632 calls for service, 7 felony arrests, 6 misdemeanors, 76 traffic stops, and 51 citations issued. Handled out 13 animal complaints, 31 alarm checks, 17 disorderly persons, 11 domestics, completed 61 FI cards, 13 juvenile complaints, 14 mental health related calls, and 52 PHCs, and 42 suspicious vehicle situation checks, and 19 welfare checks. On that mental health, I have a reminder that we've, the Sheriff's Office partnered up with some mental health professionals in the field, so when we do go out on these calls and we see that somebody is maybe suffering from a mental change, we have the means to follow up with that now with mental health. So what I basically do is, when our deputies go out and they document somebody maybe in crisis or have suffered from an altered mental state, we do those FI cards that I just mentioned, and then I take those and I send them over to the mental health folks, and then they go through and we'll initiate follow-ups with these folks to make sure they're getting the help they need. They know what resources are available to them in the community, and just to kind of help them through whatever they're dealing with, and be a little bit more proactive on getting the people the help they need. Our crime was down 31% over this time last year. Our Part 1 violent crimes are down 38% over this time last year. Part 1 property down 36%. Part 2 violent crimes increased by 1%. That's your simple assaults and such. And crimes against society went down 49%. This is the least amount of activity I've ever seen on one of the CompStat maps. I mean, I want to say the Burger Plat area had the most activity. It came in at like 3 crimes. So totally just off the chart of what we normally see. So it's been a slow month, knock on wood, but everything's trucking along fine in the township otherwise. October 15, 2020, Second Watch crews conducted a traffic stop on a vehicle in the area of US 35 Infirmary. It was for a failure to display a license plate violation. The driver was found not to have a valid license and was in possession of a firearm. He was taken down and questioned. We were presenting improper handling of a firearm and motor vehicle on that. Environmental crimes generated 3 cases of illegal dumping in Jefferson Township. That one I talked about from July with the illegal tires that were dumped, that has gone to grand jury today, so we're waiting their decision on that one. We have another case that was presented off of our investment earlier in the year that is with the court now, and then we have a case from Forney Road that we just had a warrant issued for a subject on, so I'm seeing a little progress in that area. I did make contact with Dayton and spoke to them on a couple occasions, and they have agreed to help remediate that YMCA site there at Dayton Liberty and Route 4. So just getting things coordinated with them on their end. They've been kind of hit with COVID, and some of their management's been out, some of their field crews have been out, but it's in the works, and they're gonna start helping us kind of get that eyesore cleaned up and try to do something to maintain it if there's additional offenses, prosecute them, keep it clean. Still no inmate workers out of the jail at this point in time, so we didn't have any areas cleaned during the month of October. With everything upticking, I don't see that kicking back off anytime soon, but hopefully, spring approaches, maybe we can start getting everything back out and taking care of the litter type thing. One other thing I'll add is we had a serious issue crash here at the connector Halloween night. Traffic Service is investigating that. The driver that caused the crash has suffered serious injuries. and they're still in the hospital in serious condition, but everybody else was minor injury. So that's still being followed up on by the traffic services unit here at D7, and I'll try to update you next month as to what comes of that. Any questions or anything? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sit here till I have to go, but we're on pole patrol today.
Okay, so, next is old business, and there's nothing on there. We discussed quite a few things in the work session. Anybody have any comments or anything they want to discuss on old business? We discussed in the past going to make the meeting Zoom. We discussed that a little bit, and Mr. Mann showed an interest in doing that. I think we need to pursue that and do a little more investigation into doing the ability of doing that. Anybody else got anything in old business? Okay, new business. Nothing on the agenda. Mann or McGuire, you have any new business you want to discuss?
Not at this point.
No.
Okay. Fiscal officers report. Since Tracy's not here, not quite sure how we're going to do that. I do want to make a comment. She did, I think she's still trying to have the audit committee meeting. She tried to do that last time, and we didn't have a work session, but she might be putting out an email to keep an eye on that. She might be trying to do an audit committee meeting. So I guess next thing is we'll start with resolutions.
Point of order, Mr. President, we need to work through the approval of payment, bills, and invoices and
We'll
warrants.
make a motion.
Mr. President, make a motion to pay the bills, invoices, appropriations, and warrants.
Second. So we have a motion on the floor to pass the fiscal officer report. Steve, can we have a roll call, please?
No, just not the report, just pay the bills, invoices, and warrants.
Okay. Can we have a roll call, please, Steve?
Yes, sir. And Michael McLaughlin,
Yes.
James McGuire,
Yes.
Roy Mann.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Okay, resolutions for consideration. I believe the first one's going to be number 89, since we looked at the last one on record is 88. So resolution 20-089. Jefferson Township Board of Trustees authorizes the Township Fire Chief to hire probationary firefighter Jeremy Fields and probationary firefighter Damon Tipton. You okay with these guys done? Good. Yes. I'd like to make a motion, we adopt resolution 20-089.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to adopt resolution 20-089. Any questions?
Are we gonna swear them in tonight? Are they here?
No.
Okay.
Any other questions? Steve, if you would please, can you roll call, please?
And Michael McLaughlin,
Yes.
James McGuire,
Yes.
Roy Mann.
Yes.
Motion passed. Trustee McLaughlin, where will those papers go that you signed tonight? In other words, we gotta give it to Tracy. Will you take them, or do you want me to take them, or?
Can you handle that?
Yeah, I know I can, just want to make sure we're clear.
Yeah. We'll let Mr. Mann hold him. He's at the end of the signing line, and
Okay.
you okay, man?
Yes.
So, okay, so the next resolution will be 90-090. Resolution 20-090, the Jefferson Township Board of Trustees do hereby approve the encumbrance of funds received from the Coronavirus Distribution Fund in the amount of $322,096.71 for goods and services needed pursuant HB House Bill 614 to the public health and safety of Jefferson Township. Discuss this a little bit in the work session.
Mr. President, can we have a full reading on that, please?
The Board of Trustees, Jefferson Township, Montgomery County, Ohio, met in a regular meeting on the third day of November 2020 at 7 p.m. at One Business Park, Dayton, Ohio, with the following members present. We know who that is. Whereas COVID-19 pandemic has caused health and safety concerns throughout the township, country, and the world. And whereas it is the responsibility of the Jefferson Township trustees to provide protection for Jefferson Township, specifically the township employees, its staff, and citizens. And whereas the Board of Trustees of Jefferson Township affirms that all funds received from Montgomery County Coronavirus Relief Distribution Fund pursuant to House Bill 481 and House Bill 614 are to be expedited only to cover costs of the township. And whereas all funds expedited are consistent with the requirements of Section 5001 of the CARES Act as described in 42601D and any applicable regulations and guidance only to cover the expenses that, 1, are necessary expenditures incurred due to the public health emergency with respect to the coronavirus disease of 2019, COVID-19. Number 2, were not accounted for the Jefferson Township Board of Trustees' most recently approved budget as of March 27, 2020, the date of the reenactment of the CARES Act. And 3, were incurred during the period that began March 1st, 2020 and ends December 30th, 2020. And whereas the fund encumbered as of the date of this resolution are to be used for the sole purpose of purchasing goods and services for all buildings owned, used, and accessed by Jefferson Township administration, staff, and employees for their protection as well as protection of the citizens and the general public as described above. Now there be resolved that the Jefferson Township Board of Trustees to hereby authorize the fiscal officer to appropriate the funds received of $322,096.71. I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 20-090.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to adopt Resolution 20-090. Any questions?
Did you guys pick this over in the work session at all?
Yes, we did.
Mr. Wolf, did you have any input on this?
In the work session, I explained to trustees because they asked very good questions, Mr. McGuire. The attached schedule that you see that's with the resolution is the current draft of the items that have been identified as possible purchases for this $322,000 grant. That it's not complete. There's a lot of discovery still to do to it, but it gives you trustees at least an idea where you know where the staff, along with Fiscal Officer Edwards, has been working at. So you feel free to ask us questions. 2 weeks ago, we gave you a smaller list, less detail. We tried to go to a bracket this time. But the action taken tonight is strictly to accept the money that's been awarded to you, not to spend it. This expenditure will come at a later date before, we have to have it all bought and ordered before December 20th. This is strictly encumbering the money, telling the state we want the federal government that we want this money.
Okay, we have a roll call, please, Mr. Wolf?
And Michael McLaughlin,
Yes.
James McGuire,
Yes.
Roy Mann.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, next resolution would be 20-091. The Jefferson Township Board of Trustees do hereby request that the fiscal officer kindly set up separate charge independent credit accounts for the road and general departments as soon as possible, as soon as it is possible. We talked about this a little bit in the work session also.
Move to adopt resolution 20-091.
Question, can I ask a question now? What was the decision in the work session?
Well, I don't know if you really said, I had concerns with it. Gonna give credit limits of $5,000, and we have issues with credit cards and spending the money now and not doing the correct paperwork. And until I hear from Tracy herself saying that she's behind this, I will not pass it at this point in time.
Well, we've got bathrooms that need to be repaired. We got toilets that don't work at Kimmel. We're giving credit card rights to fire employees that basically Ms. Edwards has denied them, cut them off, turned off the charge cards at her well. It's time to step up and start
So
getting some control of the
we have problem paying the
situation.
credit cards and paying getting stuff taken care of, and she's not here, so you try to slide this through to get $5,000, that's what it sounds like you're doing.
I don't know how you could be sliding it through when you're in an open meeting, Mr. McLaughlin.
Because she's not here, it's like what you do when I'm
Well,
not here.
she doesn't
and
have
you-
a vote on this. We tell her what to do.
Until she tells me that she's good with this, I'm not voting on it. She manages our money. So as of, you still not got a second on it.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
can you wait another 2 weeks on this?
We can. I want to explain one of the difficulties you're going to have is the road department needs to move forward with the bathrooms. They have no hot water at Kimmel. They can't wash their hands, and they don't have the ability to go buy any of that on a charge account as of today. So if you wait 2 more weeks, then we're that much closer to trying to get the work done before December 20th.
And we don't have anybody with a card that we can purchase what they need?
There's only cards today that work in the fire department that I'm aware of. There's no card that works for administration, there's no card that works for...
Isn't there hot water in the road garage? Can they go to another bathroom? in the
They're having
garage?
trouble with that one at the road garage, but to eat lunch in that environment, Mr. Mann was against in December a year ago. What Tracy had asked me to do, as I explained in the work session, was to gather all the applications, which I had done. And I just tell you to answer your question, Mr. Mann, you don't run a department without at least access to supplies. And our budget has, the road department, for instance, has almost $600,000 there, and you're only asking for 5 credit limit. And we're not even asking for credit cards on these accounts. It's strictly to go charge when they need the equipment so they can do their job. That's all that this is about. We don't want credit cards.
We have a hard time controlling the spending of money now, spending money without the right paperwork being done, and this is just more ways to do that same thing.
So we do not have a trustee's credit card either?
Not that I'm aware of, I don't know. It's not
No,
been assigned to me.
That got canceled. Apparently Ms. Edwards took it upon herself to cancel it without checking with us.
Like in the fire department needs of first aid supplies, they use their credit card, go online to Amazon and order it. With your former road superintendent, he was able to have an Amazon account and had a credit card and went and ordered it. We can't order a part to fix a tractor because we don't have a credit card or an Amazon account. This here keeps it local and keeps it under control. Nothing more than a $5,000. So if you had some problem with an account it's not gonna go any higher than 5,000, you're never gonna bankrupt or put the departments into trouble.
We're spending,
But if you look back, just a minute, Mike. If you look back at how many reimbursements have been done to your employees' personal credit cards, that should never happen.
I'm also looking at how many times we're spending thousands of dollars on things that weren't not approved in the proper manner before they were spent. And here again, we have no loophole for people to spend things without the proper paperwork being done up front to watch our taxpayers' dollars.
Okay, to use an
So-
example of that, you didn't follow proper channels when you bought the pickup truck commonly known as Randy's old truck. You bought a salt spreader without running it through the Board of Trustees, Mr. McLaughlin. So some of what you're describing, you've
disagree
done
with you.
yourself.
I disagree with you.
Mr.
And you spend a lot of money yourself without proper approval.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I think I still have the floor.
Yes, you do. Sorry.
If we get you a credit card to take care of this until we get this other.
That would solve the problem.
Okay, let me work on that. Okay, let's table this. And then I'll work on that starting tomorrow.
So this resolution 20091, you're tabling it, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Next resolution is 20-092. The Jefferson Township Board of Trustees do hereby declare each of the listed properties as nuisances and will be submitted to the Montgomery County Land Bank 2.0 demolition program for consideration for demolition. There's an attachment of 26 addresses here, residents. We discussed this in the work session also. I'd like to make a motion, we adopt resolution 20-092.
Were there any deletions from the list during the work session?
What's the question?
Were there any deletions from this list
No.
during the work session?
No, they were not.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to adopt resolution 20-092. Any questions? We have a roll call, please, Mr. Wolf?
And Michael McLaughlin,
Yes.
James McGuire,
Yes.
Wayne.
Yeah.
Motion carries. Okay, so next resolution is 20-093. The Jefferson Township Board of Trustees agreed to accept the funding from the Assistance to Firefighters Grant Program, AFG, for the 2019 grant for 2020.
I have a point of change or addition to this resolution.
Yeah, because there's no blanks in here, good.
Yeah, you look down at the the fifth whereas.
Yes.
The amount of grant for grant number 1 was $191,904 for the ambulance.
Is that the,
That is the total amount of the grant.
is that what the sentence, whereas the funding to acquisition a new ambulance is?
Correct. That's what you're accepting is
What was the-
191,904.
Okay, so give me the amount again, please, Steve.
Okay, I'm sorry. 191,904. And that's off the AFG website.
No change.
No change.
Okay.
No. We just didn't have these numbers when this was drafted
Then
today.
the funding for electric rescue tools is?
68,039.
No change.
No change.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And the only reason why this is brought forward is the grant was not accepted correctly by the former management that was handling it. All monies accepted from the federal government has to be brought in by the trustees before it's allowed to be spent. So this is a formality, but it also, our grant writer said it had to be done, so.
I'd like to make a motion, we adopt resolution 20-093.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion on the floor to adopt resolution number 20-093. Any questions? Have a roll call, please, Mr. Wolf.
Yes. And Michael McLaughlin,
Yes.
James McGuire,
Yes.
Roy Mann.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, so the next resolution is number 20-094. The Jefferson Township Board of Trustees do hereby give authority to the fire chief and administrator to develop and advertise requests for proposals, RFPs, for the purchase of a new ambulance and for the purchase of electric rescue tools that are both being funded by the grant funded received through the Assistance to the Firefighters Grant Program. That's in relation to the one we just passed, correct, Steve?
Yes, yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 20-094.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to adopt resolution 20-094. Are there any questions? Okay, we have a roll call, please, Mr. Wolf?
And Michael McLaughlin,
Yes.
James McGuire,
Yes.
Roy Mann.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, so next resolution is number 20-095. The Jefferson Township Board of Trustees agreed to have first responders grants, LLCs, prepare,